Hello, and welcome to eClerx Talks, where we discuss the hottest topics in the industry. My name is Adam Cohen. I am the product marketer at eClerx. I'm here today with Jamin once again. Jamin is a professor at NYU's Business School and has expertise in this domain by working with Pearson and Take-Two Interactive in the past. Jamin, it's good to see you again.
Great to be here.
So in today's episode, we're going to be looking at the topic of data overload, having too much information, but not necessarily enough insight. In today's digital economy, brands have access to more data than ever. But is more data really better, or is it creating more noise than clarity? E-commerce, retail, and digital shelf managers are drowning in dashboards, reports, and KPIs. So even though we have all this data, it can be overwhelming. So is there a better way of managing these data so it makes sense? So the first question I have for you today is, why are companies struggling with data overload? And what risk does it create if they can't separate that noise from the insights?
Yeah, that signal to noise ratio is a super important point. I think what we're seeing today is there are just simply too many disconnected data sources, and you're seeing this sort of tsunami of data flowing in from dozens of different dashboards and reports that don't talk to each other. And that requires table matching in its most reductive form, making sure that you're properly hygiening that data dictionaries that match, that you're QAing, checking for drift. So if these things are not talking to each other, that makes teams do analysis on numbers that are simply not going to reconcile with each other. They may conflict. And all the while that's happening, if it's taking too long, then simultaneously leadership is losing confidence in the numbers and then in the insights that are being gleaned from it. So the second thing I'd point out is that oftentimes there's a sort of lack of context around the numbers, around the data. Metrics are often tracked in isolation without having competitive benchmarking. And that's not a good thing. You also need to make sure you're tying it to real business outcomes, leaving execs, if that's not happening, it's leaving execs unsure of what truly drives growth and margin. And that attributable ROI is a super important thing when you're thinking about how to, for lack of a better term, weaponize data. If you don't have attributable ROI, again, confidence erodes, and then ultimately it will lead to decision paralysis as well. So much noise, teams will hesitate, act too late, and while faster moving competitors might jump in, seize opportunities, that's going to cost you market share, that's going to cost you sales. So these are all things to consider.
Okay, so the follow-up question is, what are some best practices or approaches businesses can take to turn massive amount of data into actionable insights?
Yeah, it's important to focus on quality, not just on quantity. It's better to zero in on really clean, accurate KPIs that tie directly to outcomes like revenue and market share than just chasing through endless sort of vanity metrics. And I've seen that often in businesses.
Yeah, same here.
Also really harnessing, leveraging AI and automation, because again, too much data gets overwhelming. You need to make sure you're using the right tools. And machine learning can help you spot anomalies like price shifts and out of stocks, things like that, and content issues across tens of thousands of SKUs, depending on your business. And that enables real-time fixes that can be done instead of manual weeks-long responses, which is what historically happened in retail and e-commerce. Finally, making sure you're tracking decision-making metrics. That's really important. Share of search, buy box health, competitor promotions, that sort of thing. They really reveal why performance is shifting and connect directly on next steps, whether that's adjusting your pricing, whether it's fixing content or rebalancing your SKU assortment.
So finally, how important is it to choose the right vendor in this situation so you can cut through the noise and act quickly with the data? Because obviously there's a lot of vendors out there. What would you say is the most important aspects when selecting one?
The technology by itself isn't enough. A dashboard without context just provides yet more clutter, more data, because AI needs expertise for interpretation and setting the rules, the logic of how you're getting insights from that. So for example, here in the world of e-commerce, you've got to align with shopper behavior and realities of categories. So things like industry expertise really matter a lot. The benchmarks for a CPG brand are going to differ vastly from those of a luxury or an electronics manufacturer or retailer. And only a vendor with category knowledge can really define what good looks like. So I think that's also really important. And finally, I'd say that partnership drives outcomes. So the best vendors don't just stop at delivering data. They guide you to decisions. They tailor AI insights and into actions, really, that accelerate ROI and provide the competitive advantage that we're all looking for.
No, those are good points, and I think also you want the vendor too, right? Like you just said, you want to build that partnership and move forward in this day and age, right? There's AI is still an emerging technology. We've seen a lot of advancement, but you want to kind of grow with that partner so that you can take advantage of the latest technologies, but also the expertise that they have too.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a wrap then. So really the main takeaway is more data doesn't necessarily guarantee smarter decisions. They need to be turned into insights that help with those smart decisions. So really it's having, like Jamie just explained, it's the technology, AI side, but also you need that expertise to make sense of that data from that technology. Speaking of AI-driven technology, our market intelligence at eClerx is powered by AI, and it reveals your holistic digital competitive landscape and helps you to proactively turn those insights into growth strategies. And if you're wondering how your brand is performing today or where you could be doing better in the market online, check out eClerx.com to dive into our market intelligence solutions. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you at the next episode.